Thank you so much for speaking with the banner, Jim O'Hare.
Hey.
So the first question I want to ask you is, what are some of your favorite memories from the show?
Oh boy. Parks and Recreation. I always say this. It's been 6 years, 7 seasons of laughter, and I mean that because I've been on a lot of shows over the years. They're not always fun, but Parks has been fun. So I can almost point to every day that something amazing happened. But as far as like just super highlights, I love the day Chris Pratt showed up naked. I love the day he literally did Amy open the door during a scene, and there was Chris. I loved my fart attack episode when I started having a heart attack. As it turns out, flatulence is a big part of a heart attack sometimes. So, and what I loved about that was I did it, Amy and I were talking about it ahead of time, and I really felt like the only way to make it funny is if I didn't play it for funny. Like if I played it dead serious. So everyone around me is so crazy that when I was playing this heart attack for real, I think the funny came out. So, but so many great memories. I love when we traveled together. We went to Indianapolis 3 times. That's just because then we get a lot of off-set time to be idiots, and I love being idiots with those guys. So every day there was something special going on because it truly was a special place. But millions of amazing memories, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I sort of see your character as the glue, holding the show together.
Yes,
Like
I should have told my agent that. Could have got a better deal last season.
Like before, when you were talking about how you kept sort of, the truth of the moment in that scene, can you talk about, like the evolution of Jerry as a character?
Sure. Initially, I didn't even audition for Jerry. I auditioned for Ron Swanson, played by Nick Offerman, who the thought of anybody else playing Ron Swanson is just crazy to me. It's Nick Offerman. And as it turns out, he was who they wanted from day one. They knew they wanted Nick. But the way LA works is the networks force you to see a ton of people and blah, 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 blah. So I was in that round of people they saw. And so I felt like I had done, my interpretation of Ron Swanson. And it was very different than what Nick ended up doing, but it was enough that they liked me. And then they said, bring him back for this role of Jerry. But they were very honest. They said, we don't know what Jerry is. Jerry might be nothing. Jerry might be here quickly and then gone. But for me, it seemed like such a no-brainer because these are the people who created The Office. And look what happened, like your Phyllis's and your Kevin's and your Angela's. I thought, well, if there's any chance of that happening, I'm on board. So they brought Jerry in, and Mike Schur and Greg Daniels co-created it. And apparently what they said was, we like him, put him at a desk, it'll work. And that's kind of what happened. So they put me at this desk, and in the first 6 episodes for sure, it's very much, Leslie, you got a phone call. Leslie, there's a package, like the one-liners, or maybe I cross through getting coffee or something, just to fill the atmosphere. So, I was a little concerned at first, like, ooh, I hope, because I don't, and there's nothing wrong with background work, but I had a lot of, I've done a lot of shows, and I wasn't going to go back. I didn't want to go backward, and do background work. And it could have felt that way, but because I knew they had hopes for me, I never let it get to me. But at the end of the 6th episode, we got this weird call, and they said, the producers want to know if Jim can do some stuff with Amy in a forest. We need some bumpers for the show. And I think I was the only one around. And I said, yeah. So they put Amy and I in this forest, and we started just playing off of each other. And I guess from what I hear, that was the day they were like, oh, he's sticking around. Because we played, we made each other laugh, we had a good time. And then by season 2, I had a couple of episodes that were about me, which was awesome. And actually, some of the people from The Office, they were like, how the did you? We were on 5 seasons before we got an episode. So it was, so Jerry came to life. The fact that I stayed there happened episode 6, season 1, and there was only 6 episodes. Now maybe I still would have stayed, I don't know, but I know that day was when they said, we're gonna keep this guy around. I don't know if that even answered your question. I forget what the question was.
It did incredibly.
Oh, great.
Not every actor, gets the chance to be on a sitcom for 5 years.
Or is this good looking?
Or is this good looking?
Yes, let's get that out there.
Can you talk about A, how you keep yourself so good looking, and B, sort of how your life has changed since this incredible experience?
Well, as far as being this good looking, it's me and the man upstairs. And by that, I mean my hair colorist. No, no, it's changed things in many, many, many ways. Every single one of them positive. It's made things where now I get offers to do projects, which that never happened in the past. You auditioned and auditioned, and I still audition. It's not like immediately you're offered everything, but you know, my manager will call and say, hey, we got a call from, like this week I'm shooting Hot in Cleveland. They called 2 weeks ago and said, would you shoot Hot in Cleveland? Okay, I'll make out with Betty White if that's what's got to happen. So I'm doing that this week. You know, and also, not to be too weird, but it changes things financially. You know, a network show pays well, and every year it pays, you know, a little more. So we had 7 seasons of that, which was great. And so it gives you that security. And also, we're in syndication now, which for an actor, that's the favorite word, because that means you still get paid while it's still out there for the world. So, but I guess mostly it's changed. Like if I go to a restaurant or walk around Disneyland with my nieces or something, it's changed that. People coming up to you, which never bothers me. People are always super nice. I've never had anyone be anything other than gracious and kind. So it's changed everything. It really has. I hope it didn't change me as a person. But if it did, who cares? I'm better than everybody.
That's
Joking!
That's so incredible to get that response from such a large fan base.
It's crazy. Yeah, you know, in LA, it's not as much because LA, people are used to seeing people on the streets. But New York and Chicago, where I seem to be mostly, if I'm not here, it's crazy, but awesome. You know, and people scream from their cars. And I mean, I left a restaurant once and someone goes, thanks for ruining the Harvest Festival, Jerry. And then he drove off. That was it. Nothing else. And I was like, yes, that's cool. And like, you know, and I get a lot of Jerry's, because Jerry made it into the, what is that called? What's that book of, like, new terms? There's a word for it. Urban Dictionary. Thank you. Someone yelled it out. And Jerry's made the Urban Dictionary. So I'm super proud of that. Very proud. Really way more proud than I should be.
So as a Christian actor, how do you sort of balance, you know, your work life in Hollywood with, you know, some of the aspects of faith?
Wow. Well, faith has been there always. I'm a Catholic boy, raised still. I still get a lot out of Mass. I miss sometimes, which I don't like, but it does happen. But I like the traditions of it. I like all that. I wake up, say my prayers, say prayers at night, in the morning. It's not doable without it for me. And, you know, however people get by is how they get by. But for me, if I don't give thanks for just pretty much everything that's happened, good and bad, because not everything's great. You know, I've lost a mother in the past couple of years, and, you know, 2 weeks ago I had to put my dog down. You know, I mean, believe me, there's sad stuff. But, I had 11 years with that dog, so that was amazing. So thankful for that. So, yeah, my faith is a big part of who I am. I think that's probably one of the things that kept me grounded. I don't like to hurt people's feelings. I do believe in the golden rule: do as to others. As you know, I mean, I'd like to be treated the way that I treat others. So I try to treat others nicely. Except for you. Get away. Get out. Get out. Don't look at me. Again, joking.
What advice would you give to some aspiring actors in the audience?
Oh, wow. Get a different job. No. You know what? I wouldn't say that because, boy, it's weird. If this is what is in your heart and this is your passion, I knew the first day I took classes at Second City in Chicago. And the first, I can picture this as if it happened 2 minutes ago. I was on that stage, and it was just class. So there was 20 people, I don't know, and 3 of us were on stage, and I got a laugh. And I remember thinking, oh, wow. And it was improv, so it wasn't anything it was just, they laughed at something that I created out of my head. And I do remember thinking, I've never had this feeling before. And then as time went on, I realized it's because you found what your passion is. So I do believe if you have a passion, and it's easy for me to say now that I've been working, but I had a lot of years where I wasn't working. I had a lot of years where I didn't know how the rent was going to be paid. I had a lot of, but I'll say this, and this is again faith. There were times I thought, well, they're going to put a thing on my door when I was in Chicago and lock me out. I haven't paid rent. And all of a sudden, some miracle check of a residual or some weird thing will come through, and that never happened. And I think faith has a lot. I think the man upstairs took care of that. So I think it was the right path for me. And but if you don't have a passion for it, it's too crazy of a business to go into. I really believe. Like I always say, if tomorrow, say tomorrow I had an audition at 2 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock they called and said, you just won the $1 billion lottery, and you're the biggest winner ever. I'd be like, oh my God, that's awesome. I have an audition in an hour, so I'll call you after, because I wouldn't miss the audition. So, because it's not about money. It's about I need to do that. So, if you have that, then you have no choice but to pursue it. You really don't have a choice. And you do I've worked jobs where it was picking up golf balls where people are still hitting the ball at me. I've done everything except for wait. I have never been a waiter because people are so snobby, they don't like sweating their food. So, which I find offensive. This is gold sweat on me. No, so I've never waitered. Other than that, I've done just about all the other stuff out there to keep living the dream. My dad used to say, okay, so let me get this straight. You work downtown, this is in Chicago, you work downtown all day, and then you go and do these plays where you make no money, and you actually lose money because you have to help build and create, blah, blah. I go, yeah. I mean, I had no answer for him other than, yeah, and that's how it's got to be. And he was super supportive. He just never got it. He was an 8-to-5 guy. His family was, he worked 8 to 5. He had his 4 children. Bills were paid. Everything was good. So, but it was in my heart. So I had no choice. I even said, I remember the first time when I came back to Chicago after I'd been in LA, I had lucked out and got on, I guessed it on something. And I came back to Chicago and said, I don't care what it takes. This just has to keep happening. So, and good years, bad years, great years, terrible years, up and down, But eventually it all led to my interview with you. So it's all good. It's all good.
Finally, can you tell us a little bit about your Middleman Kickstarter project?
Yes. I'm doing a film called Middleman that was written by a Chicago guy with a dear friend, Ned Crowley. And it's a very, very dark comedy. It's the anti-Jerry. It's not the Garry Gergich people have come to love, hopefully. So we're going to shoot this movie in April, and it's a low-budget film. It's kind of weird when you do a Kickstarter campaign.